taste and see how gracious is the Lord. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. When I was a child, we would often go to visit my grandmother in Lexington, South Carolina. And I always had a good time because Granny had a good-sized pond near her house that we could swim in. There was an apple orchard, a chicken coop, a superbly fun rope swing, and more woodland to explore than you could shake a walking stick at. Most of my early memories of going to visit Granny involved going outside and playing, but one of the most enduring memories is what Granny said almost as soon as we walked in the door, every single time we visited. Have y'all eaten yet? As a child, I didn't really eat much at Granny's house, much to her consternation. Back then, I didn't really appreciate soft gravy and biscuits, egg salad, or string beans. Nor did I really appreciate what Granny was doing when she was trying to stuff our bellies with country fried steak. Serving us a meal was her way of showing love. And my refusing to eat was tantamount to not caring. I don't really know when I came to understand this, but as a college student, I would visit Granny on a fairly regular basis, every 3 weeks or so. And there was no particular reason for my visiting, other than that I wanted to see her and spend time with her. And without fail, the first thing that she would ask me when I arrived was, "Have you eaten yet?" And I never refused her cooking as a college student. Not because I was poor and starving. She really knew how to cook. But there was one day when I arrived at her house, and Granny had not been able to go shopping that week. All she had on hand was a potato. Not letting that get in the way, she of course asked me, "Have you eaten yet?" And then she proceeded to boil the potato. And a plain potato was supper that evening. No butter, no sour cream, no ketchup, no garnish of any kind. Just a plain old potato. And normally I would say that a plain potato is the very definition of blandness. It's kind of boring. I wouldn't even have to taste one to know that it was tasteless. But that potato was delicious. It was delicious because Granny had made it. And I was happy to eat it because I was sharing a meal with my grandmother. Oh, taste and see how gracious is the Lord. Some of us may wonder just what we are doing here. And by here, I don't mean St. Mary's Full of Grace. This is actually a really nice church. I just prefer Gothic architecture. In any case, what I mean is that some of us may from time to time wonder, why have we gathered together? Is it because we like being surrounded by community? Is it because this is where we see our friends, can reconnect with them? Is it because we are looking for a place where our talents and abilities can be put to use for a greater purpose? Is it because we want to celebrate what God has done, is doing, and will do for us? Yes, it's a good answer to all of the above. Community is good. Using our gifts is good. Celebrating God's love is good. Being in a place that fosters a sense of joy and thanksgiving is certainly a good thing. But this may paint too rosy a picture of what life is like here in the Grace community. There are some here whose lives are falling apart. There are some here who have recently lost a loved one. There are some here who have been deeply hurt by others, even by others in this community. There are some here who count their efforts as failure. There are some here who don't know if they really even believe in God anymore. With the reality of so many of life's joys and sorrows accomplishments and frustrations, hopes and doubts and fears being gathered together here in this place, the question may well remain, why have we gathered together? I believe that part of the answer is that we have been drawn by God. As Jesus says in this morning's gospel, no one can come to me unless drawn by the Father who sent me. And here we all are. For whatever reason, we have all come to this place this morning to be with this community. God has gathered us together. And what has God gathered us together to do? To share a meal. To taste and see how gracious is the Lord. It's as if God is asking us, have y'all eaten yet? And God himself is making the meal. We call this meal the Lord's Supper, Holy Communion, the Eucharist. Jesus commanded his disciples to share this meal in remembrance of him, not as a kind of nostalgic looking back, but rather to remember him, to make the living Christ truly present, once again a member of this congregation, to drive home the tangible reality that God is indeed with us in this very community. Oh, taste and see how gracious is the Lord. In this morning's gospel, we hear Jesus say, I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats of this bread will live forever. And the bread that I will give for the life of the world is my flesh. This is one of Jesus' more controversial and difficult teachings to understand. And countless theologians have wrestled with what the words mean. But the pertinent thing is that the Eucharist is the way the church makes sense of what Jesus is talking about here. And while we might not all believe the same thing about how exactly Christ comes to us when we receive the bread and the wine, I kind of doubt that's hugely important. Jesus is there all the same. Jesus told us to take, bless, and share bread and wine in order to make him present in our lives. And Christians have been sharing this kind of meal since the church began. Writing about the Eucharist in his classic book, The Shape of the Liturgy, in the 1930s, the great liturgical scholar Dom Gregory Dix puts it beautifully. Was ever another command so obeyed? For century after century, spreading slowly to every continent and country and among every race on earth, this action, the Eucharist, has been done in every conceivable human circumstance for every conceivable human need, from infancy and before it to extreme old age and after it, from the pinnacle of earthly greatness to the refuge of fugitives in the caves and dens of the earth. Christians have found no better thing than this to do for kings at their crowning, or for criminals going to the scaffold, for armies in triumph, or for a bride and bridegroom in a little country church. One could fill many pages with the reasons why we have done this and not tell 100th part of them. And best of all, week by week, month by month, on 100,000 successive Sundays, faithfully, unfailingly, across all the parishes of Christendom, the pastors have done this just to make the holy common people of God. The point is still striking and still awe-inspiringly valid. Whether it was a plain potato or a heaping plate of macaroni and cheese, what made the meal of Granny special was Granny. And whether we are relocated to a neighboring church or back in the Gothic greatness on Wentworth Street, what makes the meal we are about to share special is Jesus. Whether, like David, we are mourning the loss of a loved one, or like the psalmist, we have felt a pressing need for God to redeem our sins, or like the Ephesians, to whom Paul is writing, we are struggling with anger and bitterness while trying to be faithful and loving. Still, we come together, regardless of the circumstance, to do what Jesus commanded his disciples to do nearly 2,000 years ago. We come to share him. We come to remember Christ in our midst as the bread of life. And Jesus invites us to take and eat. Taste and see how gracious is the Lord. For some of us, the Eucharist may seem like a plain potato. The wafers we use here certainly don't delight the palate. Ever heard the story of the young man who said it was easier to believe that the wafer was Jesus than it was to believe it was bread? But still, like sharing a meal with Granny, we have come here in response to a loving invitation so that we can savor not so much what we are given, but rather the presence of the giver. And here we are. Take and eat. Taste.